Welcome back to Family Twist. Today's episode is truly a special one by Shirley Munoz Newsom, a wife, mother, grandmother, and author of the memoir, The Little Dark One. Shirley's story is one of strength, resilience, and faith. On the day before her 43rd birthday, she received life-changing news that everything she thought she knew about herself wasn't true.
Today, she's here to share that story with us and how she found the courage to move forward. All right, let's talk to Shirley. Shirley, it is lovely to see you, and welcome to the show.
Well, I thank you and Kendall for inviting me to be on your podcast today.
Awesome. Yeah. So I believe the day that we met in person, that was the first time that you were speaking in public. Is that correct?
I was on Don Anderson's podcast, but yes, I had never, ever told my story in the 23 years since I found out with that many people.
You did a fantastic job. I'm sure it was nerve-wracking, but I mean, you were among friends. But yeah, I thought you did a really, really nice job.
Thank you. It was that the summit was so amazing to be in a place where everybody understood. I didn't have to stop and explain myself. I mean, and you really got it because I live in Wyoming and there's no groups. There's nothing here. You know, and 23 years ago when I found out, the internet was in its infancy. I mean, I did all my research through microfiche at the library.
Wow. That takes me back. So your book is getting some really, really positive reviews and feedback and stuff. How does it feel to have your story out there in the world now?
Wonderful. And I just won as a finalist for the National Indie Excellent Award.
Very cool. Very nice.
So that was exciting.
Have you heard from the different sides of your family since the book has come out about the book?
The raising father and mother have passed away, and one of the raising sisters, my birth mother, passed away in 2016. So the only feedback I've received is one sister said to me, I had called her because I always felt like she was sitting on the fence. Like she wanted to be in the Morgan's family. But then I was like a side thought. When I was writing my book, I noticed that she had not been on 28 Hours. And she was not on the Today Show. And she had not commented on that nasty National Enquirer article. And on the Rosie magazine, she said something really nice. And so I called her and I said, I want to apologize. I'm so sorry because I had distanced myself from you. And then I explained, I just felt like, you would call me and say, I'm going to be in Gillette and I have an hour for lunch. So I was apologizing and crying. And she said she had a repairman come into her house to fix her washer or something. And she would call me back. So she called me back and she was kind of a little different, her tone of her voice. And, I just kept saying I was sorry. And then she said to me, well, is your book going to hurt us? Because we had just healed. And I was devastated. And I went out and talked to my husband and I said, I can't write this book. And I told him, you want to study and go to Cheryl? They weren't there for you when you were hurting. And most of them caused you the pain and suffering, because I did not want to be in the media. I didn't want my life. I splashed all over. I felt so embarrassed and ashamed of myself that I couldn't. And they just kept telling everybody my phone number and, finally my attorney took the calls. It was hard. I didn't want anybody to know. And I live in a small town. And so I thought, I'll just put my sunglasses on and no one will know who I am. And I just always, from childhood, when I was little, I learned that you're not supposed to talk about your feelings. And you're supposed to smile and say, hi, how are you? And so that's what I did the whole time. No one knew. Even when my friends read the book, she was like, why didn't you tell me all this was going on? And I said, I couldn't. So I just suppressed everything because that's what I learned how to do as a child. It's push it down. You won't talk about it. We don't talk about it. These happened. So for 63 years, 62 years, I suppressed everything, which then took a toll on my body. And I did not realize I had PTSD and that. Finally, counseling, the wall of was like, God has okay. I gave you the skill to suppress him, and now it's time to let it out. And I just cried. The counseling, she's like, well, therapy. She said, it's time. But like writing the book, I wrote it, and as an accountant, I just go, what happened? What happened? And my editor, how did you feel? And I said, I didn't think anything. They were like, no, I'm positive. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And I'd written 2 chapters. And I went back and rewrote the chapters thinking what I should feel. And then after finally the damn button broke, I was able to go back and do it. Because my feelings were valid. And I didn't know what they were. I really truly thought I didn't feel.
So I feel like we've sort of buried the lead a little bit here with the audience, but
that's okay.
For those of you who aren't familiar with Shirley's story, she was separated at birth, which is like, I think we only really hear about it like in the movies and things like that. Like we've never really seen it happen, in real life. So can you talk a little bit about the National Enquirer article and what happened there?
Well, I was raising my grandson, who I later adopted, and I was giving him a bath upstairs, and Scott, who was my boyfriend then and is now my husband, the phone rang, and I said, can you finish giving Austin his bath, and I'll run downstairs and answer the phone. And I answered the phone, and they're like, this is the National Enquirer. And I'm like, oh, yeah, really, right? And I thought it was it was like spam or whatever. So I ran back upstairs and told somebody, I said, you would not believe it. Someone just called and said they were the National Enquirer. Whatever. So then Austin got sick, and we were in the hospital. And I was in his room with him, and we were sound asleep. And Scott came in with this huge stack like this of papers. I thought, what is that? Because I'm kind of groggy. I wake up. And he goes, Troy, I'm so sorry. He said, I tried to buy us in these, but they're everywhere. And I'm like, what? And he opened it up. And there's a picture of me, and I was probably a sophomore in high school. Worst picture I've ever taken in my life. And in that photo, I look at it now, and I think that really, the rounded shoulders, and it was, even though it's a horrible picture, it represented how I felt inside. But, to open the National Enquirer and have your picture in there. And then later I found out they sold it for $600. So that was devastating.
Well, who benefited from that? I mean, who?
Global, the sister, my raising sister, and Debbie, the one I was switched with. And I didn't realize that I could have said, you cannot put me the paper without asking me. That's me. But when you're so emotional and find out you're switched at birth and your life is flipped upside down and you don't even know who you are so emotional, you don't know any of this.
Did your raising parents ever know that you were switched?
The father that raised me when I went to talk to tell him I got the DNA test back, he just looked at me and he said, I knew. The first time I looked in that cradle and saw a baby with a head of black hair, brown eyes, olive skin, you were not my baby.
I mean, hopefully, he loved you and treated you right. Oh, okay.
No, because I found out that the family that I was raised in was very emotionally unavailable. I was never hugged. I was never told I love you. You know what? The whole family dynamics changed when I was brought home because he thought she had an affair and I'm the product of this affair, and everything changed. And I had found out after writing my book and during authors' talks that people in town talked about it all the time. And I kind of talk about that in my book. But a lady came up to me. They always wait until the end and come up and they're the last one. And she said, I want you to know something. She said, my husband worked with your father, my raising father, Jim. And he came home from work one day and said, you'll never believe what Jim said to me. She said, what? And he said, I have no idea who Shirley's father is. People talked about me at dinner tables, and they were like, she either had an affair or like maybe there were 8 kids in the family, maybe that he was pretending somebody's kid in it, or when you're little, you're kind of oblivious of all of this. But writing my interview people, and they were like, oh yeah, you thought you parents said, when you ever going to club?
I think, just with your father, having that feeling and knowing from day one that you weren't his, I'm sure that bled into the rest of the children. Like, I'm sure that's why, you were never treated like you were one of them. But what a horrible thing to do to a child, an innocent child.
I know, and it was like they all everybody blames me. And I'm like, I didn't this. And then in the end, when Debbie, the one that I was switched with, passed away, my Aunt Mary called me and she said, Debbie is dying. And my raising brother was not letting anyone see her. She lived in Arizona. And so I said, I'll call Holly, my birth mom. So I called her and I said, don't you want to go see Debbie? And she said, no, I can't. She won't let me see her. And I said, I will go with you and I will make sure you see her. She said, well, I don't have money for a plane ticket. And I'm like, that's fine. I will take you. We will go and you will see her. I said, she's dying and she needs to see you. She goes, no. So then I called my raising mother, who was her birth mother. And I said, Debbie is dying. Would you are you going to go see her? And she said, no, I don't. It was like almost the exact same conversation we had with both mothers. She said, no, I don't have money for it. And I said the same thing. It was like it was just replay. And then in the end, I said, you don't want to see her? She goes, no, she really wasn't what we thought she'd be. And I'm thinking, we both came from two dysfunctional families. And my therapist said, it's amazing that you have both that. And then you got 2 dysfunctional families, and now look at you. You survived. You're a survivor.
Yeah, I think there are so many people that if they were in your situation that they wouldn't have survived. So there's something within you. There's strength. You persevered, and obviously, you're very loving. I could tell just meeting you that you are an emotional person, that you're happy to give out hugs. You adopted your grandson. it's pretty remarkable that how far you've come.
And that is, for me, it's my thing, faith in God, but, it's like, not only have I survived, but I've been able to thrive, and it was my grandson, Allison, that I adopted, and he's the reason I wrote the book, because he kept saying, Mom, you need to write a book. You need to tell people what happened to you. You need to help people. And I said, oh, I could hurt people. And he said, Mom, what if you help just one person? Is it worth it? And what did I say to that? And then it was my cousin Leah, who was there at the summit, did the video and everything for me. She helps me. So through her, I found out about this program through Georgetown University to write my book. And I mean, it was like everything fell into place. I finally talked to our local newspaper, and then it was Don Anderson. And then from there, I met a person, John Carr, who had been switched at birth. And I was so excited because I thought, I have never spoke to anyone like this. I'm really excited. And we had video calls and talks, and I went to see him in September. It was so amazing to sit in the same room with someone who he had a life. I mean, it was so crazy. Our lives were almost parallel. They adopted him too. And like the same DNA place lab where did the testing, finally on one of the tests. And that's who didn't want. I mean, he had a horrible child. His physical abuse, and mine was emotional. So it was so amazing to be involved, even just to sit in the room with him. He's healing. And he said to me, you have done more for me than any therapist I've ever talked to.
Good. Wow. So did Debbie have a bad childhood as well?
Yes. She was a lot like genetically my family. I mean, like my aunts, my raising aunts, a couple of them. I don't know how to describe it. Like emotionally unstable. And she made some bad choices in her life.
Yeah, I would say the National Enquirer thing was not a great choice.
No.
She was an alcoholic. I don't want to admit that. That's what. But yeah, I mean, she didn't make. There's a lot of people that.
No matter the situation, you probably would have had a very difficult childhood, even if you had not been switched.
But the one nice thing that my raising mother said to me was that, you sure no matter what and when you would have survived. So she made me how strong it was.
I remember you speaking about your Aunt Mary. It sounds like you two were pretty close.
Oh, yes.
How did your relationship develop?
She was actually the first person we had made arrangements. I found out about Debbie and talked to her one phone call. And then I got more information, and my birth mother actually lived 2.5 hours away. He mentioned this when I was born. So I called my Aunt Mary, and I had a half sister living there and a half brother. So we made arrangements that I was going to come to visit for the day. And the first person I met was Aunt Mary. She called me and said, well, you'll go by my store first. You need to convince me. She had a pharmacy, and it was in a grocery store. So I walked in the grocery store, and I'm looking for the pharmacy in the quarters. And all of a sudden, I see this short little Mexican woman walking really fast towards me. And I thought, wow, she looks as fast as I do. To me, and she looked at me and she said, you look just like your mother. That was the first time in 43 years I'd ever been told I looked like someone. It was like, wow.
Shirley, your story is nothing short of remarkable. Thank you for opening up to us and sharing the challenges and triumphs of your journey. I know it couldn't have been easy, but your faith, your family's support, and your courage have clearly carried you through. For those listening, this is only the beginning. Shirley's story has so many layers, and we'll be diving deeper into the aftermath of her DNA discovery and how she found her way to healing. So please join us for part 2 of Shirley's incredible journey on our next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves, and remember, family is full of twists, but it's how we navigate those twists that shapes who we are. The Family Twist podcast is produced by How the Cow Ate the Cabbage LLC, presented by Savoir Faire Marketing Communications, and features original music by Cosmic Afterthoughts.